Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Today, we're tackling a question that I think a lot of us grapple with. How can we actually support someone who is struggling with their mental well-being?
It's a big question, and it's one that we get asked a lot.
And, our listeners, you send in some really fantastic resources from this initiative called You're Not Alone. And that's really what we're going to be diving into today. We want to give you some really practical advice, actionable things that you can actually do to support someone in your life who might be struggling. Because I think sometimes it can feel really uncertain, like how do we actually help?
Absolutely. And it can feel daunting, too, right? Like when someone is really going through it and you care about them and you want to help, but maybe you're not quite sure what to do or what to say.
Yeah. And, I've definitely felt that myself where it's like, you want to help, but you don't want to make it worse. And so I think that's what I really loved about the material that You're Not Alone puts out, is that it really demystifies it and shows that even small acts of kindness and understanding can make a really big difference.
Totally. And I think that's such a powerful message because it makes it feel much more approachable, right? Like you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be a therapist. Just being there and showing that you care can be incredibly helpful.
Exactly. So I think the first thing that really jumped out to me as we were looking at this material is just the importance of compassion, really. It feels like everything else flows from this foundation of human connection.
It really does.
Yeah.
And there's actually some really fascinating neuroscience that backs that up. Like when someone is experiencing emotional distress, feeling seen and cared for can literally be a lifeline.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like there's studies that show that experiencing compassion actually activates the brain's reward system, right? And releases oxytocin, which is this hormone that's really strongly linked to bonding and trust. So it's not just like a nice sentiment.
Yeah.
There's actually a biological basis for why that connection is so powerful when someone is vulnerable.
That's really fascinating because, we talk a lot about sort of like, those feel-good hormones and, what releases them and all of that. But, I don't think we often think about it in the context of like, oh, wow, just being compassionate to someone actually releases these chemicals. For them, that makes them feel better.
Right. It's not just about like feeling good yourself. It's about actually helping to regulate the other person's nervous system and helping them to feel safe and secure.
Yeah. And the material also talks about how empathy and kindness create these emotional bridges.
I love that visual.
Yeah, this is a good way to think about it.
Right. Like you're not just like standing on the other side of the river shouting advice.
Right.
You're actually building a bridge so that you can meet them where they are.
So with that kind of foundational understanding of just like the importance of compassion, let's get into some of the practical advice that is offered in this material. I think the first one really revolves around active listening, which, we talk about a lot. But it's more than just passively hearing what someone's saying.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people sometimes get tripped up, right? They
Yeah.
think, oh, I'm listening, I'm sitting here, I'm quiet.
Right.
But active listening is really about being fully present. So for our listeners, that means truly concentrating on what the other person is communicating.
Yeah.
Not just their words, but also their body language, their tone of voice. It's about understanding their message, responding thoughtfully to show that you've heard them.
And remembering what they've said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And remember, right, so it requires putting away distractions.
Yeah.
And that means our phones.
Yeah.
Right? It could even mean our own internal thoughts, like what we want to say next. Making genuine eye contact. And the material actually has this really powerful line that says, sometimes the greatest gift is just listening. And I think that's so true.
And I think they also give a really useful question.
Yes.
Because sometimes it's hard to even know how to start.
Totally. Like, how do you actually initiate that supportive conversation?
And the question they suggest is, I'm here for you. How can I support you right now?
Oh, I love that.
It's so direct and it's open-ended, and it immediately puts the focus on their needs.
And it avoids making assumptions, right?
Exactly.
Because you might think you know what they need, but you might be wrong. And so by asking directly, you're giving them the space to tell you what would be most helpful in that moment.
And it also really empowers them. Like it puts the agency back in their court. It's like, I'm here for you. Tell me what you need.
Exactly. And it also shows that you're willing to help. Like you're not just saying, oh, I'm so sorry you're going through this. You're actually saying, what can I do?
And you're not alone. Also make sure to include this really important resource, which is the 24/7 support line.
Yes.
Which is 866-907-4580. And they say, don't hesitate to share that number if someone seems to need immediate guidance or is in crisis.
It's a great reminder because sometimes in those really tough moments, we can freeze up and not know what to do.
Right.
But having that number handy can be a real lifesaver.
Mm.
It's a reminder that there's always help available, even in the middle of the night.
So moving on to the second really practical tip, I think, is validating their feelings.
This is huge.
Which, again, I think is really connected to this idea of empathy.
It is. It's about acknowledging that someone's emotional experience is real and it's understandable, even if we don't personally share that exact feeling or we don't fully grasp its intensity.
Right.
And the "you're not alone" material gives some really helpful and concise phrases to use here. They say things like, "Your feelings are valid, it's okay to feel overwhelmed, and I'm here for you no matter what."
And I think those phrases are so simple, yet so powerful, because sometimes our instinct is to try to minimize someone's pain or to jump in with solutions.
Totally. We want to fix it, right?
Right. But validation is really about just acknowledging and accepting their current emotional reality.
Exactly. It's about saying, "I see you, I hear you, and what you're feeling is okay."
Mm-hmm.
And when we invalidate someone's feelings, even unintentionally, it can actually make them feel more isolated and ashamed of their emotions and less likely to open up in the future.
It's almost like you're adding shame on top of whatever they're already feeling.
Exactly. It's like saying, not only are you feeling bad, but you shouldn't be feeling this way.
And so this validation creates this feeling of safety and allows them to recognize that their emotions are natural.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a natural response to what they're experiencing. It's not something to be dismissed or hidden.
Now, the third tip that I think is really important to address is encouraging professional help, which can be a tricky conversation.
It can be, because we don't want to make someone feel stigmatized or like there's something fundamentally wrong with them.
Right. But the You're Not Alone initiative gives some really good advice here, too. The phrasing that they suggest is, "Have you thought about talking to a counselor? I can help you look for someone if that feels easier."
That's so good.
It's so gentle.
It's so gentle, and it normalizes the idea of seeking professional support. And crucially, it offers concrete assistance in taking that step.
And I think that offer to help with the research is really key.
Totally. Because when someone is already feeling overwhelmed, the idea of having to navigate the process of finding a therapist and figuring out insurance and all of that can feel like a huge hurdle.
And it's overwhelming.
It's totally overwhelming. So by saying, "Hey, I can help you with that," it takes some of that burden off of them.
And it makes it feel more doable.
Exactly.
And there's this really great real-life impact story that's shared in the material.
Oh, I love that story.
Yeah, it's so good. It really brings all of this to life. It basically describes the situation where a colleague noticed that their friend at work was becoming really withdrawn. And instead of ignoring it or making assumptions, they just started checking in regularly, asking how they were doing, and without judgment, just with genuine care.
And I think that's such a key point, right? It's the consistency. It's not just like a one-time thing. It's showing up repeatedly and saying, "Hey, I'm still here. I'm still thinking about you. How are you doing?"
And so this consistent checking in made a huge difference.
It did.
Because the friend eventually felt safe enough to open up about what they were struggling with, which was anxiety.
And to seek help.
And to actually seek help. Like, they booked a therapy session.
Yeah, because they felt supported.
All right, because they felt supported and like they weren't alone in this. And also they had received some recommendations for trusted mental health websites, which again goes back to that idea of like making it feel doable.
Totally. It's not just like, "Oh, you should go to therapy." It's like, here's some resources. Here's how you can get started.
And I think that story really highlights that you don't need to be a trained therapist to make a positive impact on someone's well-being.
No, not at all.
Just being present, showing kindness, listening, these things can have a ripple effect.
Exactly. And that aligns perfectly with the overall goal of the You're Not Alone initiative, which is to foster a culture where compassion is normalized. And we can talk about mental health openly.
Yeah.
Without shame.
And, they highlight this call to action that they have. They encourage people to share supportive phrases in the comments of their social media posts or through direct messages. And they even encourage people to tag someone who has provided them with support.
That's so sweet. I love that.
It's such a nice way to acknowledge those people in our lives who have made a difference. And for anyone who wants to connect with their community and access their resources, their Instagram handle is @YourNotAlone.
Perfect.
And their website is www.you'renotalone.online.
And you can always save or share the blog post as well.
Yes. And of course, we'll link to all of this in the show notes as well.
Perfect.
And they reiterate that 2147 support line number, 866-907-4580. So it's really clear that their aim is to make these resources as accessible as possible.
Totally.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, I think the core message is that offering meaningful mental health support isn't about performing grand gestures or having all the answers. It's about those consistent, small, intentional acts of care.
I love that.
Listening, validating, and gently guiding them toward professional help when appropriate.
That's it. Showing up as a supportive human being.
And so I want to leave you with this question to consider. What is one small, intentional action you can take this week to offer support to someone in your life? Maybe it's reaching out to a friend you haven't connected with in a while. Or really truly focusing on listening without judgment the next time someone shares something with you. Or simply letting someone know, I'm here for you. As this "you're not alone" material so clearly shows, even the simplest acts of kindness can create these huge emotional ripples and make a world of difference.
Absolutely.
So that's it for this deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.